Hi everyone, welcome to English and More. Today I am here to give you my feedback and my review on the very popular film Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. Yes, so I had an opportunity of watching the film yesterday, and here are my few takeaways from the film which would definitely help you if you are planning to go for this movie. So, first question that comes up in most of the people's mind is the film just a science lesson? Do you need to be an expert in quantum physics to understand the film? Well, this is a myth which I'm going to bust in this particular video and also give you the deeper nuances that the film is trying to portray. So first, let us look at the film's title. So it is of course Oppenheimer, based on the father of atomic theory, Dr. Robert Oppenheimer. Now, this movie is based on 2005 biography American Prometheus, and the opening caption of this movie is Prometheus stole fire from God and gave it to man. For this reason, he was chained to a rock and tortured to eternity. So as you can see that the film draws a direct parallel between Robert Oppenheimer and Prometheus. So if you are unaware of the myth of Prometheus, well, Prometheus, the god of fire, had stolen fire from God and given it to humanity. And as a consequence, as a punishment, he was tied up to the rocks, and an eagle used to come and eat on his liver, which used to regrow. So he suffered punishment for bringing enlightenment. So parallels have been drawn between Oppenheimer and Prometheus. Oppenheimer suffered for unraveling the mysteries of atomic energy. Having given the man the power to destroy himself, Oppenheimer is shown to be tortured by historical analysis and his own conscience for eternity, just as Prometheus. Well, the title of Prometheus in the biography also reminded me of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. If you have not read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, well, this is for your knowledge that Frankenstein was subtitled as Modern Prometheus. So yes, there are parallels of this very famous Greek myth of Prometheus with Frankenstein, who also dealt with science and technology and showed the dangers of it, and definitely Oppenheimer, the misuse of scientific technology. Now the next thing is a few very thought-provoking dialogues used in the movie which would definitely touch your heart and make you think. The first one is by Kitty, Dr. Oppenheimer's wife, who said, "You don't get to commit the sin and then make us feel bad for you that it had consequences." Now these words of Kitty, Dr. Oppenheimer's wife, resonates throughout the history as the film questions if really Dr. Oppenheimer deserves sympathy for his actions, which was again really quite meaningful, was by Louis Strauss. Now he said, "Amateurs chase the sun and get burned. Power remains in shadows." So this again made me think about the myth of Icarus. Now Icarus flew too close to the sun and his wax wings melted and he plunged into the sea and got drowned. This is actually a cautionary tale warning us of the dangers of ambition and lack of moderation. Now Strauss had been orchestrating events from the shadows for years, and he was planning for years, remaining within the shadows against Oppenheimer, which we see towards the end of the story, how the events turned out to be against Oppenheimer. Now the next one is personally my favorite, And it is actually a quote from Bhagwat Gita. It says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of the worlds." So this quote from Bhagwad Gita in a single moment made Oppenheimer realize that he had both helped his country but failed the world at large. This movie provides an introspective look inside the mind of Dr. J. Robert Oppenheimer. Now, Nolan incorporates the recurring theme. Now, this is something which you need to know. So, this theme of chain reaction and ripples is recurrent throughout the movie. Although the chain reaction is not the scientific chain reaction that happens in the movie, but what is alluded to is the fact that the chain reaction is actually how a bomb will become the main weapon in the future warfare. Now, coming to the conclusion of the movie, in the aftermath of the war and years after, Oppenheimer had tremendous moral qualms and guilt about the many lives lost as a result of his catastrophic gadget. Now, this made me go back to the pages of history, and I remember how Emperor Ashoka, when he fought the Kalinga War to become the greatest king of the nation, he also had moral qualms, and that visual sight moved him so much that he decided to leave the path of war altogether, and he went ahead with the ideology of Buddhism, which propagated peace. In this movie, Oppenheimer, although he was not directly responsible for the war, but it was his gadget which was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which caused a huge destruction. So definitely he had moral qualms towards the end and guilt. And the movie has very beautifully presented the visuals, the sounds that he could hear, the visuals that he could see when he was addressing the people of his nation about his achievement and about the so-called ironic victory of Americans against the Japanese. So overall, this movie is a warning to mankind about the extremes and about how power can cause huge mass destruction, and it can transform the world into a wasteland, as T.S. Eliot has called it. So, Christopher Nolan's masterpiece Oppenheimer explores the creation of the first atomic bomb during the Second World War. It is a contemplating piece that warns the world about the dangers of ambition. So, when you are watching this movie, there is a lesson for all of us. Ambition is very positive when we control our ambition. As long as our ambition is within our control, it yields us positive results. But the moment ambition starts to control you, the results could be destructive. And that is exactly what is shown in this movie. And which also reminds me of Shakespeare. Shakespeare's masterpiece, Macbeth. If you have read Macbeth, you would know that it was his ambition, his over-ambition to become the king that ultimately led to his doom. So, this very strong theme of over-ambition has remained timeless, and this is something which is so very relevant in our modern lives as well. So this movie is a must watch. So go ahead, enjoy this movie, and also think about the lesson and the theme of this movie that the very famous cinematographer and director is trying to portray. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope this video would help you to think more deeply and watch this movie, enjoy this movie with your family. Thank you. We will see you again in the next video. Bye bye. Take care.